All right, welcome to the Crypto Report. My name is Hamilton. I'm here with co-host Josh. Josh, what's up?
How's it going? It's a great day to be a risk-on speculator.
Yes, it is. It's been a fantastic week. And as a matter of fact, I think yesterday might have popped a couple cherries, if you will, from newer crypto traders not fully versed in the type of volatility that they are going to eventually become used to, right? The $100,000 dunk, and now we're right back up and over 100,000. How many people do you think got stopped out yesterday? How many people were messing around with leverage that might have got liquidated? We'll talk about that in a second. I just want to forewarn everybody that there's some construction going on in the condo that I'm in right now, so I'm kind of hiding in this this like little offshoot of the kitchen. So if you hear some background noise, I apologize in advance. I'll try to keep that to a minimum. All right, so without further ado, Josh, because there are a bunch of people walking by me, I'm going to go ahead and give you kind of the lead over the next 20 minutes, if you don't mind. We're going to go ahead and start with Bitcoin, though. Bitcoin chart's up. Feel free to go ahead and talk through this. What are your general thoughts? What I want to know more than anything, and I know you have a lot of things to say. I'm going to give you the floor here, but one thing I'm personally interested in your opinion on is $100,000, obviously, psychological number, but realistically, it doesn't really have any technical significance. All right, we had $103,000, 500-ish first PT off that 70K pivot. 100,000 we knew was going to be this big psychological number. You get up and over it, everybody wants to own it. We got up and over it. I was a little surprised at how fast we got dunked underneath it, but what stands out to me is how quickly we reclaimed $100,000 and we are now potentially building a base on top of it. Give me your thoughts on that from a pure technical standpoint. How important is it for a trader or an investor to see bases get built on top of previous kind of areas of contention?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that crush down yesterday, I mean, we saw $450 million get liquidated from crypto markets in under an hour. One of the biggest, specifically BTC liquidations since the FTX crash in the bear market lows. And so, that was a rough candle. That was a rough day. I know many traders' positions got stopped out. Where we are now is, the narrative was, okay, Bitcoin's top is in. And well, I don't agree with that at all. You have the echo chambers yelling Bitcoin's top is in, and that was a deviation. So now that we see Bitcoin reclaim that 100K level, it kind of puts that theory to rest that we can now base up here above 100K, that big round number. Like you said, there's no actual kind of on-chain technical saying, 100K is this super important number. It's more mental. The issue when we were kind of breaking up towards 100K on the first run over the last, now the third time we've popped above, was this massive sell wall of whales. Right? We had, upwards of, I believe, 4,500 to 5,000 Bitcoin across multiple exchanges, all set for these sell orders at 100K for this iconic price action. That sell wall got eaten up and bid down over the course of November 20th to this week when we broke above it, down to when we were looking on Monday, I believe it was, or Tuesday, 1,500 BTC sell wall across all exchanges. Whereas previously a lot of exchanges had that full sell wall. So I think technically it's really important that we, base above 100K as kind of the new floor level for BTC to act as support to continue this run up into the high 100Ks.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I do want to put a little caveat here. The $100,000 area as support matters from a psychological standpoint, but also it signals to people that it's time to continue to start looking for bigger price moves, right? It's not just 100,000 now. And I think that's a super important kind of facet of this overall kind of position here, because if you look back, and I've been trading, crypto, and I've been a part of the crypto market since before Bitcoin was $1,000 a Bitcoin, right? So I saw 1,000, I saw 10,000, and now I've seen 100,000, which blows my mind. But here we are. And I want to point out that, when Bitcoin broke above 10,000, it didn't stop at 10,000, but it was very volatile, very choppy. It didn't go from 10,000 to 18,000 overnight. As a matter of fact, it chopped a bunch of people out. It faked people out. It gets people in, it gets people out, gets people pissed from not only a crypto market, but markets in general tend to find a way to screw as many people over as possible. And so if the market can kind of sense liquidity is hiding underneath or on top of something, it will tend to find those pockets of liquidity and try to screw as many people over. So it made sense to me logically that once we got up and over 100,000, we were not going to stop at 100,000 immediately. And we didn't. We jumped all the way up to about 104,000. But then we violently pulled back on an $11,000 candle. I mean, that was a nasty pullback. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Bitcoin has an ADR of like 3 or 4%, and this thing pulled back 11 to 12%. I mean, that's 3 to 4x ADR. That is a violent move. But was it not expected, at least inside of TTI. We've talked about this exact scenario playing out since before it broke above 100,000. We said this is probably going to happen. Don't freak out. So for most of us in here, when we saw it pull back, we were laughing because we expected it. And we were kind of asking ourselves, who do we know in real life and outside, that got screwed here on this 11% candle? Probably a lot. Right. So once again, I don't think 100K is going to be the top. As you said, there's people calling for a top here. Listen, if you're a technical trader, you don't base under a psychological level or a previous cycle high, which that 70K point was, for 3 years, break out for 2 weeks, and then roll over. I'm sorry, but there was just a monumental amount of capital printed, the most ever. And you think that it's only going to push this asset up 30, 40% before it rolls back over? I don't think that's how this works, right? So let's talk really quick about TOTAL, the total crypto market cap. I think this is the most important chart when it comes to crypto in general. I know you're all over this, and I know you also prefer to use Total 2, Total 3, and others, so we'll talk through that afterwards. But really quick, our general thesis was, listen, if 3 trillion breaks, that's open the floodgate for risk. You got to be long this asset class if you're a technical trader, because this signals to us that asset prices within the crypto market are going to fly. It also signals to us across the broader TradFi market that risk is being thrown back into the market. You cannot operate as a market speculator and not go long when liquidity is entering the market. It's the easiest layup of a trade as possible, right? Here we have 3.61 trillion. And by the way, just for simple demonstration here, Apple is at 3.67 trillion, right? I think it's the number one right now, if I'm not mistaken. It's the largest company in the world, Apple, right now at 3.67. And we have a total crypto market cap at 3.61. There is a very real chance this weekend that the total crypto market cap overtakes the number one company in the world. And while that doesn't necessarily scream that this is the largest asset class ever, that is a very important moment for the crypto asset class, right? Do you expect this to pull back to 3 trillion? Do you expect this to pull back below 3 trillion? Or is this path of least resistance higher as the floodgate been open? Or are we going to be seeing a 4, 5, and $6 trillion market cap in the crypto space relatively soon? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the path forward is higher. I thought if there was an opportunity for us to pull back and kind of retest that $3 trillion level, I thought it would have been during that period where Bitcoin had some consolidation below its 100K push. Now that clearly that's been broken and, we've seen the volatility whipsaw to get us back above 100K, I don't think we see that, call it $600 billion market cap pullback down to 3 trillion. It's just, I don't think it's in the books. And I think we continue higher. I'm targeting, 5 trillion generally based on fibs and a number of other items. So the path is higher. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some level of consolidation. Either in a bear flag or pennant where we're sitting now or a little bit higher. But no, I don't think we retest 3 trillion. Not anytime soon, at least.
I think if we do retest 3 trillion, which it could happen, as long as we hold 3 trillion, and I think that's where most people get this stuff wrong, is they think that secular breakouts, like we're seeing right now, once again, this is a secular breakout because it took 3 fucking years to re-break out. This is not a cyclical breakout after a couple of months or quarters. This is a 3-year high breakout in the next big leg up. This is a secular breakout in this asset class, at least, that moves very, very quickly. And so when these things happen, right, you see $100,000 Bitcoin, or you see, if you're even looking at the market cap, you see the 3 trillion market cap get broken out. If this pulls back to 3 trillion, if Bitcoin pulls back to 90K, the trade's over. The world's done. It was a fake out. Everyone's an idiot. That's the top. They're rushing to short. We know from a technical standpoint that things pull back all the time and retest previous resistance, now turn support. Would it surprise you if this consolidated or pulled back slightly and then continued its uptrend? No, not at all. Just like a TradFi market is the exact same thing, right? It doesn't make any sense to sit here and complain that the stuff pulls back. As a matter of fact, we are in risk on mode, at least inside of TTI, and we are buying the fucking pullbacks. So give me one or the other, Total 2 or Total 3, and we'll go through it.
Let's take a look at, we'll talk about Ethereum because the trade is on now. So let's look at Total 2 so we can include Ethereum in there.
Let's do it. Go ahead.
So Total 2 is sitting at 1.61 trillion. So this includes all assets in the crypto sector, excluding Bitcoin. And right now we're sitting at previous all-time high. So from here, like we were saying, with whether we're going to retest 3 trillion or continue higher, I could imagine some level of consolidation at this level. But with the price action we've seen in both Ethereum and Bitcoin in the last days, I expect this to go significantly higher. Like we might get a day or two of some consolidation, but otherwise, it's looking like this is going to be going higher for longer.
And so what is it telling you as a market speculator that you should be doing with your capital if you're looking to make money in a risk on environment when Total 2 breaks out? Is it to sit only in Bitcoin, or is it to look outside of Bitcoin, particularly for that relative strength?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we want to be allocating to altcoins and other majors. I think one of the key indicators of that, and we've talked about this week over week, is looking at Bitcoin dominance. We saw Bitcoin dominance top out, I believe, last weekend or potentially last week at around 61%. And it's probably been downtrending ever since. Obviously, the break above 100K has created some consolidation down there at that 55% dominance level. But when we see Bitcoin dominance have these dramatic pullbacks, that tells us that capital should be allocated to altcoins and other assets, to the higher beta plays, to catch significantly more upside.
So let's talk through Ethereum really quick, because you bring up a great point. I want to talk because the trade is on today. I think this is probably the most important chart right now in the crypto market, because everything else is kind of already starting to break out that we're looking at. But Ethereum broke out today. So you're talking about Total 2 breaking out, potentially into new all-time highs. You got to look outside of Bitcoin right now, the higher beta stuff. Talk through the Ethereum trade right now. What do you like about it? What's the risk on? What's the risk off? What's the target?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ethereum looks great. We've been talking about this for weeks, kind of when we're going to see this potential catch-up trade and outperformance by Ethereum that we saw in the previous cycle. We saw Bitcoin break its previous all-time high, and Ethereum lagged a bit. Ethereum has been one of the worst relative strength-wise performing assets of the last 18 months, and we're finally starting to see that outperformance. So right now, the risk-on level we're looking at is 4,000, up to 4,100, depending on how you want to play your levels. Risk-off, there's kind of two ways to play this because of the essentially vertical accumulation that's occurred over the last week and a half. I think traders have the option of using an ADR-based stop, so going 1 to 2 ADR outside of the current price, bring it down to a risk-off area around 3,700, or to aim a little lower with a stop around 3,550 to 3,500, below some of that kind of mid-range consolidation that can hopefully absorb any price action before taking the individual out of the trade. Target-wise, the previous all-time high is ballpark 4,800, depending on the exchange you're looking at. We're looking at a trade of 6,820, so 6,820, based on the fib levels. We're looking at these range highs to range lows, from the bull market highs to bear market lows, and trying to figure out where the next steps for Ethereum are. Ethereum's long been touted as, one day this will be a $10,000 asset. I think this is the cycle for that to occur, as much as everyone wanted to happen last cycle. And so we're going to aim for an initial take profit at 6,820, and then from there, follow the technicals and price action and see if we can get this up to 10K and over.
I mean, I don't think that's wrong, by the way. I just want to point this out because, you alluded to this. People, how dare Ethereum be a $10,000 coin or asset or whatever. I want to point something out. And I don't think people understand, or at least respect, liquidity and market cap enough. They think about the asset class and what it actually does. And I'm sorry to hurt you guys' feelings, but 99% of crypto isn't going to do jack shit. And that's totally fine. We're using it as a speculative tool to increase our wealth. We don't necessarily care if it changes the world, at least for those of us that are trading. So when I tell you, or when Josh tells you that Ethereum could potentially be 10,000, well, was it crazy to think Bitcoin would go from 70 to 140? It's well on its way. Why would Ethereum not go to 10 grand? Think about how much money, think about total, think about the market cap coming in. There's a potential for $3 trillion to enter the crypto asset class before this secular bull run is over. It absolutely has happened in the past. It absolutely could happen this time. Just based off of market cap and liquidity alone, Ethereum could go to 10K easily. It could double easily. It doesn't have anything to do with whether or not Ethereum has a great use case. You like the guy who fucking made it, what your parents think, what your neighbor thinks. It means nothing. What matters is liquidity and market cap. So yes, Ethereum 10K absolutely could happen. I just needed to point that out because I'm so tired. It's not just crypto that people complain about this shit. They complain about it with companies too. There's no way Palantir could do this. There's no way AppLovin can do this. It's not up for you to decide. And by the way, if you don't want to take that bet, feel free to short those things. Hasn't worked out very well, right? So yeah, Ethereum 10K, like it above, this 30. I personally like it above the 3950 pivot, but we can call it 4K right there. Use those fibs up. I believe you correctly identified the 4,800 kind of 5,000-ish first PT. Once we're up and over that, we're going to treat this, at least inside of TTI, as an all-time high breakout, just like we would everything else. We draw a little smiley face on the base. We draw some fibs. We play it higher. Above 5,000 is 5,800. Above 5,800 gets up into the ridiculous prices. By no means do I think that it can't do it. I think it will with everything else. And I think that today is the green light to start accumulating that position, because at the end of the day, you have a very simple risk on, risk off level. 39.5 above, good. 39.5 below, bad. Throw a stop somewhere below that, as Josh alluded to, maybe a 2x ADR move. I don't think that's bad. You're looking at about 11% drawdown from the entry price, which is, we'll say, 39.5 on the dot. That looks like you're getting out somewhere sub 34.5, something like that. Yeah, I think that's totally doable. It's a tight stop, but I think it's fine. If Ethereum's going to go, it's going to go, right?
Absolutely. And I think the one thing that's important is, I mean, as you said, people weren't thinking that Bitcoin was going to go from 70 to 100. If you had asked, folks in the bear market, if when Bitcoin was trading at 15,000, if it would be going to 100,000, almost no one was saying that that was possible. So I agree, 10,000 Ethereum absolutely makes sense. And Ethereum, as the only other asset besides Bitcoin, has the added benefit of spot ETF inflows in the US markets, and of course outflows, but having that additional capital that likely isn't going to be leaving that asset to rotate into smaller altcoins. That's something that's kind of unique to Bitcoin and Ethereum this cycle, is that typically when we think of these alt seasons, we think of, capital flowing from Bitcoin to majors, to layer ones, to mid caps, to small caps, repeat. But a lot of this money inflowing from ETF inflows are passively being injected, and they're not being waterfall down to other assets. So a lot of this money going into Ethereum and Bitcoin is going to sit there. It may rotate between the two. Funds may take profits, but it's not moving to other crypto assets until those assets, if they are ever, are listed in US markets. As an example, yesterday Ethereum saw $600 million in inflows, which is significantly higher than essentially all of the inflows for the course of the entire year so far. So Wall Street is watching this $4,000 level, and it'll be interesting to see with this pump above 4,000 to see where where Ethereum ends up sitting in terms of inflows today, and how Wall Street is starting to front run that possible all-time high break that we just talked about.
You need more followers on Twitter, because that is absolutely fucking brilliant, and I 100% agree. So guys, by the way, if you don't follow Josh on Twitter, Views by Josh, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's the username. Follow him on Twitter. He posts some cheeky stuff over there, but great charts, and he's absolutely right. This stuff is not going to move. It's not going to rotate. It might go between BTC and Ethereum, but these are the two institutionalized cryptocurrencies that Wall Street has right now, at least legally. And so that's where a majority of the money is going to flow. So not to kind of cut this off prematurely, but we have just a couple minutes left. I want to do kind of like a speed round here, so maybe 15 seconds tops. We're going to talk through the blue chips. I'm going to talk through the EOS trade that I put on because I still think it's valid, and then maybe if you have an opportunity, talk through one trade. Is that okay? We're going to do like 15 seconds tops. Okay, so we're going to start with BNB USD. My 15 seconds is own the pivot at 670. I have a position in this. It's up a couple 100%. I'm on leverage on it right now. My stop is somewhere below all-time highs, and I'm targeting $950 to $1,000. And just like Ethereum, I think this is doubling, if not more. I think this is going to 1,500.
I had nothing to add to that. Couldn't agree more. That key pivot area from the all-time high break is exactly where you want to be entering. If you get a pullback to there, I think it'll offer folks the opportunity to get in. Otherwise, you may need to look for a future area of consolidation to continue the breakout and get long BNB.
Ripple. So this was something that we entered super early on. You can see kind of the chicken scratch here. We got in at around $1.14 was when we first noticed. It's just a simple high and tight, guys. You don't have to draw anything more crazy than this. We saw a period of consolidation. Same thing Josh was just talking about with BNB. We took the breakout. It ended up being a fantastic time to own it. Now I'm going to go to a different chart really quick just because we want more price history here. But now people are looking at XRP as where can we potentially enter here? Listen, all I'm going to say is you're in fucking la la land here. There's no reason to get excited about entering here until we're either up and over, 3 at this point. Use 3 as the nice psychological number that you can risk off of, or we pull back towards that 185 area. As of right now, we are in Narnia, and if you're in it, you feel good. If you're not, we're sitting on the sidelines.
Absolutely. And a lot of the XRP price, which kind of blew a lot of folks' minds on crypto Twitter, all driven by spot buying pressure. The funding rate for leverage and open interest essentially remained flat from the entire run-up from $1 to $3. It's kind of unheard of to see a major cap asset like this. And now, flip Solana, flip BNB, XRP, at least as of last time I checked, was the third largest crypto asset in the world.
Speaking of Solana, we still like it above 260. If you're looking at this chart and you go, wow, that looks a lot like BNB, it's because it is. You play the all-time high pivot above 260. I do not have a current position in this, at least not a recent one. I did have a position. I got stopped out on it. I'm looking for another retest above 260. I will get long again, targeting 400 in the short term, and potentially, this is one of those weird ones where I'm a little bit more reserved, but potentially this could be a $650 asset.
Couldn't agree more. I think a lot of folks have higher targets for Solana based on the popularity, but that's not what we trade. We trade price action. So I think 650 is a good interim target, and we can reevaluate when we get close to that number.
Okay, my trade that I want to go through that's new is EOS. Before anybody tries to kill me over this, I understand. I don't care about the project. I've been around the block, almost 10 years in this space. EOS has always been shit, but this is a stage 1 into a stage 2. It's worked with ADA, which is also shit. It's worked with XRP, which I'm not going to say is shit, but it's a shit coin just like everything else. So is EOS, but EOS is giving us an opportunity. It's a very simple setup here. Above $1.32, we want to own it. Currently trading $1.36, so I am in already. I'm up slightly, but by no means have you missed this trade. If you're looking for an opportunity to get into a nice stage 1 into a stage 2, own it above 132. Price targets at 188 and 280. Stop somewhere sub 132. My original stop was right here at the fib extension at 1112, but because we're already up and over it, I'm moving that stop up to about $1.20.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there are a lot of charts that look exactly like this. There are a lot of stage 1s breaking out into stage 2s. The only thing that I flag to members in TTI and on the development side research portal is that we're seeing these kind of parabolic moves off of these stage 1 range lows with really no level of consolidation. So it makes it harder for individuals to find that risk off area. So you really need to understand, whether you're going to be trading an ADR style risk off, whether trailing or static, or if you're going to be watching key levels, because we've seen this kind of parabolic run. And we talked earlier about this 3 trillion number going higher, 3.6 trillion going higher. We expect these to continue to run, but you need to have in the back of your mind an understanding that we could either consolidate for a bit, which in my opinion is ideal, kind of consolidate at these key horizontal levels and then buy that breakout when it explodes parabolically upwards, or understand that you may have to set a deeper stop loss or risk off area to allow the volatility that we saw with Bitcoin. I mean, one thing we didn't talk about earlier is that Bitcoin's $100,000 11K candle, a Darth Maul candle, identical down to a crazy resolution, identical to its $10,000 break. So
I alluded to that because I was there. I know I traded through it, and I got dunked on. I got dunked on when it happened. So when it happened this time, I sat back and said, "Not again, motherfuckers!" Like, not again. I'm not getting dunked on again, and I didn't. But I mean, it's a lesson that I learned back at the 10K range. I fully expected it for the $100,000 range, and like you said, it literally played out the exact same. But let me tell you something really quick. I just want to allude this to everybody. What came after the pullback post 10K? It went to $18,000, which was almost doubled very quickly. So I'm not saying Bitcoin's going to go to 200K or whatever, but it could absolutely go higher pretty quick. So,
I mean, I'll say it. My target is 180 plus K Bitcoin. So
by the end of the cycle, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I think that's absolutely absurd to say, but what I think is even more absurd is not taking a crack at the trade when it sets up technically, because if it does get there, you're going to feel like a fucking asshole for not taking it. Last chart, give me a trade idea.
Well, I was about to give you the trade Eigen, because it's exactly what we in TTI love to trade, a big blue sky breakout from an ICO range break. But it appears it's having a fantastic day today, and I think we may have missed the entry.
Give it to me anyway. Give it to me anyway, because we might be able to buy the pullback. How do you spell it?
EIGEN. Available on Coinbase to folks who are listening and US traders. So this is very broadly, I mean, this was posted prior to this breakout on the research portal and talked about in the TTI Discord. But this is exactly what we want. We want to be entering that kind of $4.10 level, that clean break above this range, and take this to all-time highs and beyond. I know a number of us are positioned in this. And again, textbook TTI play.
Oh my God.
Whether trad,
how many times have we owned how many times in the last 24 months have we owned this exact setup? Probably 100. Exactly. It's incredible.
And this will be a very high beta play to Ethereum. So as Ethereum continues to outperform, Eigen is a Ethereum related coin. We don't so much care about what it does, but knowing that it is a high beta to Ethereum, when we have this $4,000 Ethereum break today and we see potentially that push to all-time highs and beyond, assets like this are going to do multiples more. And those are the things we want to be owning.
Josh, you're the man. You have set us straight over the last couple of weeks. You've made a lot of people a lot of money inside of TTI, so I want to tip my hat to you. As always, thank you for showing up on Friday if you're listening to this, and I want to give yet another shout out to Josh's Twitter. Follow him on Twitter. Views by Josh is the handle. He posts charts there. He gets deep in the trenches for us. I'm not willing to do it anymore. Josh, I'm too old. I feel like I'm just too fucking tired to do it now.
I'm too old.
So I mean, we rely on you. I have no problem covering the blue chips and finding these stage ones, but you get in there and find this type of crap that we're looking at right now. And I'll be honest with you, we can make a lot of money buying the BNBs and the EOSs and stuff, but this setup that you're looking at right now, these types of shit coins that break out and run for multiple hundreds of percent, are going to make more money over time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. Thanks so much. Wrapping up this crypto report, December 6th, 2024. Josh, as always, thank you for showing up, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend.